Well, Mr. Breiler, you are looking dapper. I thought you said you were going to be in rough shape after the game.
I am. I don't look like shit. I feel like I look. Look. If I don't look terrible, I feel terrible. I can tell you that. I think.
Well,
if you were to put the liquid that I perspired this afternoon into a jug, I bet I could fill like 3 milk jugs with it.
I was going to say, let's give the people a little rundown of your day down there. First time ever being on the field, shooting photos, getting video. Obviously, It was a hot one, man. It was like damn near 90 down there on the field in the direct sunlight.
Well, totally different experience. I mean, you're up in the press box, you can get more of a sense of the game and kind of what's happening, and down on the field from the sideline, everything is so quick. But there were certainly some takeaways there. I mean, you can hear a lot of what's being said in the crowd, as you're walking around. You can kind of get a vibe for what's happening in the stadium. So it was a real cool experience, man. But I just felt kind of like everything this week, just running around with my proverbial hair on fire, trying to figure things out and sweating my ass off the whole time. So yeah, it was good, man. It was good.
It was certainly a warm one. They would pan to the crowd, and you could see people just roasting out there. And I know you were one of them, dude. You were one of them down there. Yeah. Not much shade in the bottom of the big house down there. So no. Anyway, Chris is out there doing God's work. All right, dude, I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. We got a couple topics we're going to get to, but I see every single person mentioning it as soon as they come into the topics. JJ McCarthy, dude, he's going to start next week, and if that kid ends up going back to the bench, I don't know what football is, apparently.
It's not happening. So, I mean, even from my vantage point down the side, I can tell you, like I said, one of the interesting things was being down on the field. You could hear what people were saying, and I think it was right about mid-second quarter. I think the patience for Cade was running out, and then you saw JJ come in, and it wasn't like he had to do anything spectacular. The ball just moved. There was more of a rhythm. There was more of like a threat with him behind center, especially with him using his legs. I mean, he is a true dual threat weapon, and you can see what it does to a defense. Now, Colorado State is one thing. When you go down to Columbus, that might be another thing. But it goes back to everything we talked about before and during this week, that JJ just provides an element that I don't think Cade provides, and I think you could see some of that this afternoon down on the field. Was it that obvious from the press box as it was from the field?
It was. I mean, you're watching JJ. Not only here's a couple things that stood out to me. One, the obvious. He's an athlete, and he's a dynamic athlete, and he can get the corner. He can give a shake, and he scored from 20 yards out. He finished the day with 50 yards rushing on 3 carries. That is going to be a weapon all the time. But the thing that stood out more to me, because we knew that. We knew he's faster. We know he's a better runner. We know he's a better athlete, was when he came into the game for the first few meaningful snaps that he had. I think he took 1 snap in the first half. It was like he was in and right back out. He came in the third quarter with third-string running back C.J. Stokes to his side, and the threat of J.J. keeping on a zone read allowed for C.J. Stokes to pop off about a 12 or 15-yard run. You don't get that with Cade. You simply do not. If he's in there, it's not a read. It's a give. It's a give. It's a give. Every time, even if it's got that action, there's no read. It's a give to the running back, and the defense knows that. As soon as JJ came in, they did a read, and it wasn't Blake Corum. It wasn't Donovan Edwards. It was true freshman C.J. Stokes. I'm not knocking him. He's not on the scouting report. They bring him in. It's a zone read. It works to perfection. He gets 12 or 15. I think a play or two later was JJ's 20-yard touchdown run when he kept it. And he had a couple other nice ones. He's throwing on the – dude, he made a far hash throw. I'm sorry, Cade McNamara couldn't make it in his dreams. He couldn't do it, man.
Can I ask you a question? Did you see anything from up there? Because it didn't look risky from my vantage point on the sideline. It looked methodical. It looked impressive. It looked like the offense wanted to hum and run with him behind center. Was there anything that you could see from up there that looked risky with JJ out in the field?
Nothing I would call risky, man. And I mean, again, they're up 44-0 or whatever it was at that point. I mean, he's not gonna push the envelope very much, but I mean, there's times where he gets outside, and to Colorado State's credit, they had a couple guys who were giving Trente Jones some fits off the edge. They were getting a little bit of pressure on Cade in the first half. A couple times when they got a little pressure on JJ, a simple wheel out, a little extension of the arm. He's got all the time. He's too dynamic. He's too dynamic as a thrower, as a runner, as a play extender. JJ's going to get the start next week, and I just cannot imagine whatever he does. I cannot imagine going back to Cade because You know, Cade's first few throws, he skipped one in the dirt off off Cornelius Johnson's shins. He threw a pretty simple crossing pattern, 1.5 foot off of Cornelius Johnson's back shoulder. He almost threw the pick. I know the tight end, I can't remember which one it was, kind of tripped and fell. But again, I don't know, man. It was pretty obvious up in the press box. People are talking about it. You could see it all over social. Anybody who's watched football before knows that there's an element you get with JJ in the running game that simply does not exist with Cade. And then you throw in the fact that he's not like one-dimensional as a runner. He's also got an incredibly live arm and can make every throw on the field. It seems like a no-brainer. And he's going to start next week regardless. They're going to light Hawaii up for 60-plus probably. I just don't know how or what the argument would be to go back to Cade after next week from what we saw today and what we're probably going to see next week.
Here's where I'm at. If week one was the audition, fight for your job, make your case for Cade McNamara, I don't think he came even close. In fact, on what should have been Cade McNamara's day, I think J.J. McCarthy clearly shined more. And I think that that's only going to continue on into week two. And so when he gets the reins, he's the starting guy. You're right. I don't see it going back. And I'm excited about that. And it's not, again, it's not a knock on Cade, but the excitement comes from the fact that the offense is just clearly more dynamic when you have a true dual threat quarterback behind center. And I think as Michigan gets further into the fall schedule, to some of those November games or a Big Ten championship or even, hopefully a playoff spot, that's when those things that all the bags of tricks that JJ has, that's when those things are really going to come handy. It's hard to envision a scenario where Hawaii goes any other way than JJ just solidifying himself as QB1. And I think he made a strong case for that today.
Yeah, even if he wasn't starting next week, it would be like, what is this?
Let's say if Harbaugh had never put that out there and you just saw what you saw today, I think there's a strong case there that he should be the starting quarterback next week regardless, just based on what he did today.
I mean, dude, think about what we talked about before the game. Guess how many completions Cade had? 9, single digits. 9 completions, 18 throws. That was my number. I said Cade McNamara will have less or more than 18 throws. I think you may have called me stupid on that one. I don't remember. We'll have to go back and look at the tape. But he threw it 18 times. He completed 9 of them, 136 yards. And I don't really like to play this game. I've never been – you hear analysts do it all the time. You hear play-by-play guys do it all the time. You're like, well, if you take away the guy's 72-yard run, he only had 49 yards. I'm like, well, did he have the 71-yard run or did he not? Why do you take it away? I don't get it. But in this case, because of the way that it came, 61 yards of Cade's 136 came on a bubble behind the line of scrimmage to Roman Wilson. It wasn't like he threw a 61-yarder down the field and hit a guy in stride. And that was all Roman Wilson and blocking on the perimeter. That wasn't anything that Cade did. It was on time. It was on target. It gave Roman a chance to catch it and go. I'm not taking away from the throw that Cade made, but that's a routine throw. That's an extension of your running game, especially in that instance when it's behind the line and it's a bubble. And, kudos to the receivers for blocking out there. And Roman used his speed and got all the way to the end zone. So, I mean, I don't like saying – if you take away the 60 yards from Cade, then he only had 70. Those are his yards, but think of how he got them. Think of how he got them. Yeah.
It feels like a broken record because I feel like we talked a lot about this leading up to this week and even into week 2. But I think I think today pretty much confirmed what we already know. And that, Cade McNamara is a guy who can play within an offense, but he's not a playmaker. JJ makes plays. Yeah. And however many playmakers you can get on the field at once, you need that. And so, that's such a crucial position. Everything starts right there. To me, it was clear as day, man. It was clear as day from the sidelines. In the fans, I can tell you, I don't want it to be like one of those things where it was like, I just heard quite a few calls for JJ very early. And once he came in, it seemed like people were quite content. And,
he didn't he didn't.
He absolutely didn't disappoint. He did everything we thought he could do. And it was in, garbage time mop-up duty. So we'll see what next week looks like. He's going to be under the lights, a little more pressure, but I just don't think this kid gets rattled, man. I think he's going to do what he does. I think he's going to play really well. And I think that's going to settle some things. And we'll explore that after week 2,
Yeah,
but
do
it
you
is
need
going
me
to
to
be
move?
interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cade McNamara moving forward.
Fine. Okay, sorry. They're cleaning up some equipment up here and shutting windows and shutting doors, so getting a little bit. I might be in the way here. I'll move if they need me to move. So
You
sorry
in the
about
way,
that.
never, Brandon. You could
I
never be
wasn't
in
trying
the
to interrupt your point, but also I will say, I agree with exactly what you said. It just feels like he just feels like he's ready for the lights. I mean, I know like you got to look at the performance and you got to look at the numbers and the stats and the analytics and what he actually you hear about these cliche things with quarterbacks, the moxie, the it factor, the playmaking, the gunslinger. He's got it, dude. It's just apparent that he's got it. I don't really prescribe to that stuff much. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like a cliche media thing to say those things, but dude, when you compare these two, I feel like it's very real. I just do. I mean, I feel like it's very real. So
it really makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder what they were seeing in fall camp.
Right.
I mean, Cade's stance was that he was playing the best football of his life, and I didn't see that out there. And so that calls into question. I mean, if the guy's performing really, really well in camp, but things look like that on Saturday, I mean, that's kind of where, it's kind of where you're at. I think regardless of what happens in practice, you want a guy that can shine on Saturday. And JJ just routinely shines on Saturday, and I think that's going to be the case next week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Chris, you've been down there running around like a crazy person, sweating, trying to find refuge.
Can you see that?
I want to pass on something from the broadcast that I'm sure you didn't hear that I thought was absolutely legendary. Robert Griffin III, RG3, on the very last touchdown. There's an orgy in the end zone. Thoughts?
Orgy party in the end zone. I love it.
There's an orgy in the end zone.
I love it. I'd be surprised if there aren't several groups on T-shirt duty already for that. So.
I've been a fan of RG3 actually, and that just took it to another level. I think that's strong stuff. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Last couple things. We're at 12 minutes. Usually try to go about 15 or 20 for these post games. We got other stuff we're trying to get back over to the RV. Chris is going to be putting out a ton of.
Can I just say, I got some phenomenal content for you guys today. That's part of the reason why, we're stretched a little bit thin. Normally I would be up in the press box, but we've got content coming for you later tonight. Sights and sounds of the game. It's something that it's new. It's a new thing that we're going to be bringing, and I hope it's worth it. So stay tuned for that later.
Dude, also go over to Wolverine Digest right now. I put up the game recap and I put up the 3 up, 3 down. Both of them are already up live, ready to roll. They're on the Facebook page. They're on the website. We're pulling double duty a little bit. I mean, in an ideal world, me and Chris would be in the booth, maybe both grinding out some content. We'd have a person down on the field doing, or some mixture of 3 people. Yeah. It's just us 2, man. We're trying to get it. We're going to be back at the RV soon too, doing a little bit more work, but we'll be there.
We'll be back at the rig. I mean, if you're hanging around Ann Arbor, you want to come see the boys, we're going to be working, but we will be at the rig. I don't know if there's any beer left.
I'm going to pitch this question to you right now. These are the 2 segments we're going to do. 3 segments we're going to do, but obviously the JJ thing kind of took over and was front and center a little bit. Chris, 51-7 Michigan wins today. What did you love? What did you love today down there?
I love that Mazi Smith got his first sack.
How about that? I heard
that correct, right? Man, look, we talked about that Mazi Smith, obviously he changed his mindset, but physically just looks like a completely different guy than he looked last year. And, I get it's Colorado State, but the guy had never had a career sack before today. Going into the game, I thought he might get it just based on looks and mentality alone, and sure as shit, he was able to get it. So, I mean, I was impressed with the defense. They lost a lot. I don't think there's going to be a huge step back. I think once they find their sea legs and get into Big Ten play, it's going to be fine. Outside of that, I mean, to me, the thing that stood out the most is probably the thing that stands out the most for everybody is that JJ plays really well at the quarterback position, and I would like to see more of that next Saturday.
I will take it one step further to your 1 sack by Mazi Smith. I loved the 7 sacks by the defense, dude, getting after
7 totals what they had?
7 sacks, brother. Double what I went with for the over-under earlier today.
How about a sack for the transfer, right? We had a transfer come.
Big sack for Yabi Anoma. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. It was on a 3rd down. It got Michigan off the field. A big sack for true freshman Derek Moore. You mentioned Mazi Smith. Who on Michigan football bingo had Mikey Sainristil as the first sack recorded for the season?
Okay, I'll tell. Look at that question you asked me. Mike Sainristil looks very comfortable playing defense out there, and so I think that has been a very pleasant surprise. When we heard that, we thought it was a token move. The guy looks like a legit defender.
He's one of my 3-up. Mike Sainristil in general is one of my 3-up. He looked more than at home today. He had the sack to start the season. He had a couple nice plays making tackles at and around the line of scrimmage. He was physical. We know he can run. We know he's quick. We know he's got ball skills. The physicality that he showed at 5'10", $182 is what I was impressed with. Dude, Braden McGregor was, dare I say, Aiden Hutchinson-like today. I know, Colorado State. But he was using moves. He was using those long-ass arms. He was getting around the quarterback a lot, and he looked fired up doing it. I mean, maybe that lit a fire under him a little bit, and he's going to be one of those surprise guys up front. But, yeah, dude, 7 sacks. That's what I loved today because, again, we were all kind of wondering what that might look like, and you saw it from whether it was, big guys in the middle, edge guys, linebackers putting pressure on, and even DBs getting in the mix quite a bit. It was impressive from that defensive front getting after the quarterback, and I kind of thought that would happen. I mean, I tell you what, we did undersell. Colorado State only threw the ball 20 times. I mean, I know they were under duress, and that you can't be completely one-dimensional, but they did. I thought it'd be 40 easy for their offense and what they want to do, but it wasn't. And I think maybe credit Michigan obviously for a lot of that. All right, Chris, we're nitpicking a little bit. It's 51-7. They're 1-0. They rolled. What did you hate? Did you hate anything down there today besides roasting your balls off in the sun?
Yeah, I hate that JJ didn't start and that he didn't play the whole game.
All right.
I mean, that's really, I mean, there was nothing, you'd like to see, it was hard to tell from the sideline. You'd like to see, from my standpoint, a better performance from the offensive line. You would have liked to have seen the offense come out and have more of a rhythm again at the beginning, because it seemed like everything coming out of camp was weapons, rhythm. Everything is working. And it just didn't look like that right out of the gate. But then you look up at the scoreboard at the half, and what was it, 37-0 at the half? I can't remember what it was. But so, yeah, at the end of the day, Michigan was going to beat Colorado State's ass. We knew that was going to happen. But there are some things that Michigan needs to work on to get better at.
It was only 23-0 at the half, so they left some stuff out there in the field in the first half. Yeah.
So they've got some things to work on, and the good news is the schedule will allow for it. I expect them to work out some kinks. But what I will say is, having Ronnie Bell back, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, what JJ can do back there, I still think that this team can be special, and I still think that this team should be the favorite to win the Big Ten championship. Again, defend the Big Ten title. I think that they can do it, and I think they got enough time to get their stuff together to be ready for that late fall push.
You want to hear mine? You want to hear what I hated?
What'd you hate?
Eric All, Blake Corum, Ronnie Bell, AJ Henning, Andrell Anthony, Donovan Edwards.
All one reception?
One catch apiece.
Yeah. I don't look at, man. We knew it was going to be an issue with the amount of weapons. We talked about 10 guys that can get the ball, but dude, you can't. I get it's Colorado State. I understand it. You can't have your leading receiver have one reception, even if you split it, even if you divide it up 10 ways. It doesn't matter to me.
Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson had a whopping 2 to lead the way.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You go. Your leading receiver having 2 receptions, like that's it's just concerning. Look at the offense worked, everything worked. We know that, but when you've got weapons like that, I feel like you have to use them. And we went back, going back to what we said at the beginning. If this was an audition for Cade, I mean, dude, lay him out on the table. You got weapons galore. Go out there and sling the ball around, and they just didn't. They didn't do that. And so I do think, we questioned, will the offense look different with JJ behind center? Is it the offense or is it the quarterback? I do think it's the quarterback. I think this offense is going to look a lot different with JJ running. It did look different.
And then okay, we're going to beat this quarterback thing horse to death. I'm sure that'll be Monday, that'll be Wednesday, that'll be Friday, yeah.
All week.
Chris still maintains that he thinks we're going to get JJ for the availability this week. I don't think we're going to, but we'll see. We will see what's going on with that. And I found myself going back and forth a little bit here, Chris. I'm going to put you on the spot first, and I've been thinking about it too. I don't have an obvious answer. I might let you influence me a little bit.
Let's hear it, Brandon.
Game ball, MVP. Who do you got? Who do you think that guy was? Who do you think that guy was for you today?
I'm going to go with Mike Sainristil. I think Mike
Okay.
Sainristil was all over the field. Defensively, I think, man, for that being his first game out there, he looked like a vet who you can rely on in the secondary. So for me, I'll give it to Mike Sainristil again. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the game on TV. Everything happened so fast on the sideline, but from what I could see, I mean, like I said, he just looked extremely comfortable out there, like he's been doing it for 4 years.
There's a lot of guys you could pick from. I mean, I think the defense really showed that they could be special. They've got a lot of talent. Rod Moore made the big play. He had a couple nice
Rod Moore
tackles
with the
as well.
yeah.
Junior Colson led the team with 10 tackles. I mean, he was all over the field. Mike Sainristil, who was your pick. DJ Turner made a couple incredible. He had the scoop and score, the long touchdown. You know what? I'm going to go with DJ Turner. He talked about wanting to create turnovers. He scooped one up. He took it back to the house. He also shucked a block early and put his face right on the wide receiver for a tackle for loss on a little bubble screen. I'm going to go with DJ Turner. He didn't really stuff the stat sheet maybe like some of the other guys. He finished with just 2 tackles. One of them was for a loss on that really nice play on the outside, but he did alertly scoop up the ball and then took it back for a touchdown. He talked about wanting to create more turnovers, and he pretty much went and got one on his own. I mean, the fumble was caused by Mike Morris's pressure, but everybody was kind of standing around. Turner scooped it up and took it all the way back, and he had that nice tackle for loss. I mean, you could go down the line with several defensive guys. I think Blake Corum is in that mix. He led the team in carries and rushes, scored a touchdown. I mean, everything was pretty balanced on offense that it's hard to really identify one guy. Corum with 13 carries, Donovan Edwards with 12, 64 and 76 yards. They both scored. JJ looked impressive at times. There's an orgy in the end zone. I mean, there was a lot going on offense, and Michigan was up early and whatever. But I think you could pick 2 or 3 or 4 guys on defense. Nobody's going to be mad about you picking Sanders still. I don't think anyone's going to be mad at me for picking Turner. A couple of the guys had a sack. Junior Colson.
Sanders still had a sack.
What's that?
Sanders still had a sack.
That's an incredible outing for him. His first game as a defensive back.
I mean, he was impactful. I was impressed.
He absolutely was. So yeah, hard for any of the receivers to get any stats when you only throw the ball that many times. But we knew it. We talked about it beforehand. Yeah. We had an idea that that's what it would look like. A little. This will be the last thing, and then we'll it's 9 sacks. The official stat book says 7. So if there was more than that, I apologize. But the official stat book that Michigan uses in the press box says 7. So if that number doesn't get amended, so be it. But point is, a lot of dudes getting there, a lot of pressure from a lot of different areas, and like I said, a couple freshmen making plays, Braden McGregor making several plays, the DBs getting plays. Whatever it might be. Yeah, Malachi, maybe it's a half sack versus a full sack kind of thing. That sometimes can happen with the official and unofficial numbers. There were 5 guys who recorded half a sack. Rod Moore, Jalen Harrell, Mozzie Smith, Mason Graham, and Chris Jenkins are all officially in the book for half a sack. And maybe it gets fixed afterwards. I don't know. But that's the number that's there, so that's what I said. Anyway, lots of pressure on the QB.
Yeah.
51-7, not a lot you can complain about. Again, if you go check my 3 up, 3 down, I got a little picky with the 3 down. One of them was just the quarterback battle that doesn't look like a battle. I don't know if that's a down or an up. I guess it depends on where you're at. That's
enough for me. Settles the debate. Settled.
And then the other one for me that kind of stuck out, we talked about too, was the settling for field goals in the first half. I mean, you're fine against Colorado State doing that, but not only settling for field goals, but all 3 of them inside the 20. All 3 of them in the red zone. You don't want that. Jim Harbaugh, the offensive staff, they're going to harp on that. Those offensive players, same thing. They know you can't do that against a good team. And that's one of those things you want to clean up while you're playing these inferior opponents. So on to Hawaii, Christopher. We will be, kind of waiting to head back to the RV here just a couple of minutes. I'll probably meet you down there in a few, and we will, reconvene, and we'll be back on Monday night to go live. Any final words from you, Chris, down on the field after your first game ever down there?
Here's what I'll say. The next time we do our post game, because this was sort of a cluster, at the end, we'll have the tripod. It'll be steady. I'll have a nice little spot down here now that I know where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, hopefully you guys like the content that's coming out tonight. Stay tuned, because like I said, the whole reason for me being down there was to put together some of these things. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, next Saturday is going to be incredible. The RV is going to be out there all day. We had a very small window today from the time we parked to when we got on our live show to where we had to get to the stadium. So we had a handful of fans stop by. We were able to shake some hands and have some conversations. But I think next week is when, when we're going to have quite a bit of fun out there before the game. And then the game should be incredible, man. Anytime you go lights on in Michigan Stadium and it's going to be JJ's first start, it's going to be a special Saturday. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a final note here, we have somebody covering the press conferences for us, or at least getting the press conference on a phone, and I'll be able to do some stuff with it. Word immediately out of the press conference was that Cade was not in a great mood, pretty dejected, felt like the whole quarterback battle was not a decision he liked or agreed with, and maybe that led to his poor play today because he just wasn't that sharp. And dude, I'm sorry, but if you got a dude behind you that looks like he looked today, I can understand it.
Tough sledding.
It's tough sledding at a place like Michigan sometimes.
I mean, everybody wants to be the best guy, but not everybody can be the best guy. And that's just the tough rub of it all is there's a better guy behind him. And I think everybody just needs to come to terms with that so that Michigan can move forward.
On that note, tough rubs.
Here's what I do want to say
across the board.
I don't know if we have it. And if we do, I apologize, Brandon, but I do want to say before we hop off here for the post-game show, a huge, huge thank you once again, Rich, his team from Mediascapes. None of this happened today without them. And you guys got to know Rich a little bit if you watched the pregame show. Real cool guy. He's going to help us out a lot with our sound, entertainment, some other things we got going on. So, again, thank you, Rich, for coming out, hanging with us today. And I look forward to working with him again, man. It's going to be a fun year.
No doubt about it. Mediascapes.com. Again, the Scapes is with a K. Mediascapes.com. They're in Burton. I mean, dude, he'll hook it up. You got something, he'll hook it up. And he did that for us today. He's going to do it for us all year. Can't wait. So great stuff today, Chris. I'll see you down there in a minute, brother.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, thank you for listening. And we'll be back on the air Monday night at 7 o'clock. Take care, everybody.